Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Two Grown Men. As usual, Yemi here, and
I am the actor who plays Olawunmi. And with us tonight, we have our sister and friend. Hi, Lydia. How are you?
Hi,
Lydia,
how you
welcome to
guys
the show.
doing? Thank you
Very
for
well.
Welcome to
having
the
me.
show.
I
Grown
hear that
men.
I'm the second woman, or only the
Yes,
second
ma'am.
woman who's been on the show. I'm
Yes,
feeling
ma'am.
touched.
Yes. Highly honored to have you. Highly honored to have
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Honored to
for
have you here.
honoring us, and spending time with us today. Yes.
Thank you for having me.
By way of intro, Lydia is a playwright. She's super talented. I like to hear Lydia talk. There's something about her voice
Hmm.
and her
Oh,
accent and her creative ideas. I just get a vibe from Lydia. So Lydia, well, look, I'm
I do
butchering up
not
for
have
the
an
killer.
accent. What accent? What
That
accent? That is not an
is the
accent.
northern
Am I missing something here?
is
What's going on? What's all this side gist? What accent? What's going on?
oh
Exactly.
Lydia, where did you grow up? Lydia, where did you grow up? I'll explain. Where did you grow up?
I
Uh-huh.
grew up in the north. I grew up in Jos, like the north of Nigeria,
Okay.
in
Okay.
Jos.
And that's what I mean by the
Yes,
accent. That's what I mean by the accent. Is
yes. So I'm
that
a
Ah.
northerner.
there's
Like,
uh
yeah,
she's a northern
yeah, but we,
lass. She's a
That
northern
northern
lass.
twang. Okay. Okay.
yeah, but I'm not a core northerner. I'm from the middle belt of
Right.
Nigeria.
Mm,
Jos is not like core
Plateau.
north. Yeah.
Mm.
mm.
So I don't know what accent Allow me is talking about, but yeah, yeah.
I like Jos. I've been to Jos a few times. I love Jos. The weather is amazing. The people are amazing. It's a party town. It's a nice, quiet town. I love Jos. Loved it.
I haven't been there recently. I went decades, man, since I've been there.
Yeah.
Oh, for real. So we need to arrange a trip. Lydia needs to take us to Jos.
I need to take you to Jos. Like, in fact, I'm trying to film in Jos. Like, I just want
Hmm.
to film
Really?
just so that I can go and spend, just so that I can go and spend like a month or so. Because I haven't spent like a long time in Jos in a long while. I would go
Right.
and do like a day and leave, and go and do like maybe a weekend or so and leave. But I haven't been there to spend like a lot of time, and it's incredibly sad because that is home for me,
Hmm.
and growing
Mm.
up in Jos, I feel like Jos made me who I am, like gave me everything, because there's a thing about Jos. People in Lagos, you say, what's in the water people drink in that Jos? Because Jos people are very, very creative and very talented. But you would find there was this kind of space, that Jos held for us. So we
Okay.
we could walk on the streets of Jos, like walk on the streets with a guitar and just be singing. It was just one of those whimsical little towns. So yeah, so I miss it very much. It's changed, since then, since the crisis, but yeah, but it still maintains its heart, I think. Yeah.
Interesting. We had a guest a couple of months ago, LD the Don, who was telling us about how
Mm-hmm.
Jos, and he grew up in Kaduna, I think it was, and talking about how Kaduna and
Very
Jos
similar.
nurtured his creative vibes, and
Right.
he talked about how there are
Yeah.
quite a lot of Jos people in the creative space, whether it's Jesse
Yeah.
Jags, whether
I
it's
think
Emma
MI as
Baga,
well.
MI,
Emma, yeah, Emma,
yeah.
Emma and Jesse are brothers,
MI was my junior in secondary school, and he used
amazing.
to
What
rap
school was
in
this?
school. Like, yes, he used
You used to rap
to
in school.
Baptist High School.
Wow.
Baptist High
Wow.
School in Jos, yes. And he used to rap, like, even then, there's one rap. Wait, do I remember? There's one rap that he did. Now he's around for us, no stopping. There was a spiritual rap there. From the
Hmm.
beginning, gifts he's been dropping on the day of Pentecost. God sent his Holy Ghost. Now we have the strength to take us through. He's never gonna let you down. Now, please don't let the devil give you disease. Every time I sing that for him, he'll be like, "How do you remember this?"
Lydia, your
But it was
memory.
so good. Like
Now
in that time.
let's just yeah, your memory. You don't. Not only
No,
did you
my
remember that
family,
he
they're
rapped,
afraid
but you
of me. They
remember
say
the
I
rap.
have the memory of an elephant.
Uh, uh,
I don't doubt it. I
Nice.
don't doubt it.
Nice.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, but he's always
What?
been like massively talented, like from the time that we were. So yeah, but that's what just does what it does, really.
Mm,
Is it the air there?
mm.
It's just the air, probably the air.
It probably is,
Because
probably
everywhere
is.
else is hot. So it's like you guys are just like that
Yeah,
creativity just went to a cooler part of Nigeria. Everyone is busy
yeah.
sweating and looking for AC. This is my own theory. Oh. This is my own theory. Oh.
Possibly,
You guys are just like
possibly.
chilling and like, okay, let the music come out, let the acting come out, let all the creativity just come out. Maybe.
Vibe. Let it go.
It's
Let it go.
possible.
I watched one
It's
of
very possible.
MI's early, it was one of his early listening parties before his
Right.
first album came out. And I remember just listening and being blown away. Like, this
Yeah.
guy, who is this small guy with the mighty talent? Like, what? Joss. But anyway, Lydia, tell us about you.
Yeah,
What are
tell
your
us.
passions, Lydia?
Yep.
What are your passions?
My passion. So when you introduce me as a playwright, like I don't see myself as one. Oh, you know, I'm I'm a producer. Like
Okay.
at
Okay.
the core and at the heart of it, that's what I am, a
Mm-hmm.
producer, or who I am, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And for a very long time, if you ask me, what do you do? I'll just be like, because where do I start from?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Until I did my first producing work, and that was when I started the Tara Festival in Nigeria, right? So when I did that, the festival, the first year we did the festival, wanted to do a play as part of the festival, and so I produced a play, right? And it just that experience for me just brought it was like I came full circle and now
Mm.
realize that okay, this is who you are, you're a producer. So from that point when they ask me what do you do, I'll say, oh, I'm a producer. But my passions, writing is a passion for me, even though I don't call myself a writer. Like I've not called
Mm.
myself before I called myself a writer, I was head writer for over 260 episodes of a daily series. That's when I now said,
Wow.
okay, Lydia, you can now call yourself a writer. But prior to that,
260 episodes.
yeah. So I was the producer
That's
for the first season. And then after the first season, because it was in Abuja and I lived in Lagos, I was away from my family. I didn't want to do that anymore. So they offered me head writer because while I was producer, our head writer left and then I just stepped into the role and I
hmm.
did it flawlessly. So when that happened and I was going to leave, say, okay, so why don't you just continue being head writer? So I was head writer for season 2 of that season. And then we had a spin off, and I was the head writer for the 2 seasons of that. So it was over 260, if not 300 episodes that I was head writer for. And it was after
Wow.
that that I said, okay, you can now claim claim that name, writer. So writing is one of my passions. It's something that I'm very passionate about. When I was, I think I was about 8 or 9, my best friend and I in primary school, then I was in Corona in Jos.
Okay.
My best friend and I had a magazine that we called Top Page News. so,
Top
Hmm.
page
so we
news.
would Top Page News, yes, Top Page
Right.
News on, and then we'd have a character. They were always girls, have a character and write a 1-page story about that person and what they went through and all of that. And we would draw like the person's face in the front or the character in front, and we used to tear the middle of our notebooks, to create the magazine. And my mom would almost go mad when we did that. But I started writing from that age, and I used to write songs. I never wrote a complete song till today, but I used to write songs and I used to just write stories and write things, So I always loved writing and it's a passion of mine. But before I called myself a writer, it was a long time. So I love writing, I love producing. I think that I'll be producing on my deathbed. Like I'll be with my walking stick, I'm producing something. It's who I am. That is Yeah, what I love to do. And then I love to sing. I think those are my passions. When it comes to artistic expressions, those are my passions. Yeah.
So I have a question about the writing. So thank you for mentioning that. And I'm just going to ask you one question
Yes.
on the writing before we go into the singing. What about writing is a passion for you? Is it the story or is it the characters behind the
Yeah.
story, or is it
It's everything.
how you just imagine everything and you're like, I want it to end this way, I want it to. So what makes it so exciting for you?
I think it's everything. So, as a creative person, before I did that work, like writing for money, I did not write for money, right? I did not write as a job. So I would take my time and write from inspiration, right? And the thing with inspiration is those characters can plague you. Like that story can plague, and that's, I don't know whether it is like that for people, right? But for me, when I have an idea, I have a story. If I don't start working on it, I can literally fall sick. Like I can fall sick, like I'll be bedridden if I don't remove that thing. So it's like an outpouring of something, like an expression of something, right? But the stories are always sweet. Like characters, I always say that characters, you're just their vessel. Like they tell you who they are,
Mm.
what they want to say, and you're just, oh yeah, speak for me, you know. So that process is something like it's spiritual. I would say, it's not. And that's why, in fact, there was a time that after I because I used to publish magazines, a Tara magazine, and after I published one edition, I just laid down and I slept for like 3 days. And then I woke up and then I said, I understand why people do drugs. Like
Mm.
why why artists do drugs, because it is such a high creating. Oh my god, it's
Such a
like
high.
you're a mini god. It's such a high. It's such a because by the time you're done, right? Like when I'm working, I tell myself I'm after this I'm going to sleep for like 1 week. I'm not going to work for another 2 weeks. Like I'm going to on the second day, I'm like, what I do with your life? Why are you so why are you so useless in this?
Get
Like,
up,
can you
get
get
up,
up
get
and do
up, get
something?
up.
Yes, get up and like, what are you sleeping for when you have things to do? You just can't, like your mind is, because there's always something plaguing you. you know. So it's like when you stop, it's like a crash, and you have to do so. It's just interesting. Really interesting being a creative person. But yeah, that is it about the writing.
Thank you, Lydia. One more question. So when you sit down to write,
Yeah.
whether it's lyrics you're writing, whether it's a
Mm.
script for the show or for theater or for play or a concept that you have, where does the spark come from? Is it from experience from the past? Is it a random moment? Or is it emotion?
It's all
Or
of
God
the
just
above.
drops it? Some people say God just drops it.
Let me
So
tell you
which
something. That thing is real. That thing
hmm
is real. That thing is true.
hmm
Because yes, it's very, very true. Because I can tell you for like Queen Idia the musical, I've written 2 songs. I think 2 songs. Both of those songs came like that with the tune, the words complete, like just 2 sentences will just come bow. Wait, and I'm like, where are you coming from? Like I just wake up. Some of them come in my sleep. Some tunes. Like I have many tunes recorded in my phone. Because it just came. Like I woke up from sleep and then I remember something that I either heard in my sleep or I got in my sleep or something. So I would just pick up my phone and start humming it, right? And sometimes you hear those things, you know that this person is actually sleeping doing this thing because I'm like, you know, and then
Yeah.
some just come, like I'll just be walking and then or just doing something, and then it will just come. Like inspiration is crazy, like it's a crazy thing, you know, because you can't explain it. You can, where did this come from? I don't know, you know. And then sometimes it's from, like, you know, the story you want to tell, or you know what, and so it's just going over and over and over in your head, is disturbing you, you know, going over and over and over in your head. So sometimes some scenes, like in movies, some scenes just come. There's a series that I'm writing. I've been writing for a long time, but I'm writing, and there's a scene from that, in that thing, that came in in my sleep. And when I say it to people, they're like, how can you think of something? I said, I didn't think of it. I didn't think of it. It came to me, and I feel like it's something that needs to be written. It's a disturbing scene, you know. And in fact, somebody said he cannot play that character because of that scene, you know. But I know that it's a scene that needs to come out because it's a scene that came to me the way it came. That is it.
No, no, no. I totally, I agree with you. And a lot of thespians have said the same thing about. I think when they tell them to, when somebody comes out with like a really super album, and
Yeah.
the record company now tells them that recreate it, and the artist is like, "Are you people crazy? Like, do you think they just comes like that?" Like when I think we're interviewing Quincy Jones, and they're like, "Oh, when is Michael going to do another Thriller?" It's like Thriller is never happening again. Like that inspiration just
Exactly.
dropped. He dropped it, and that's it. It's
And
gone.
that's it.
Totila. So, like what you're saying, like inspiration could be from a dream. So you have to just quickly now just go and write it and then
Do it.
articulate that
Yeah.
vision,
Yeah.
because it might not
Yeah.
come again, or it might come again, but come in a different. Maybe
Way.
you've evolved, you've learned more, and then yeah. So
Let
thank
me
you.
ask you a question. You know the TV series that you did, the daily. What was it called? Do you mind sharing with us?
There's so the first one was Halita. So it was
Okay.
shot in Abuja. Yes.
Khalid.
And
Okay.
then there was a spin-off, The Rishantes was a spin-off
Okay.
from Halita. Yes.
Do you
Yeah.
have like if and where was this aired? Was it on
It
TV,
was
YouTube,
on
DSTV?
Africa Magic. It was
Oh,
in Africa. So it was
interesting.
a network. Yeah. So it
Interesting.
was a network series. Yes.
I see.
Well done.
You've written quite a few characters. Well done. You've written quite a few characters, right? Quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like a
Mm-hmm.
favorite character that
I
you
do.
wrote that you're like, this one? Please tell me
Yes, I
about
do.
him or her. Tell me about
So
this character, please.
this character, I
Mm,
created this character when we were writing Halita, and
mm.
her name was Sa'a, and Sa'a means luck or fortunate, right? But this character was like, she can't walk 5 steps without breaking something. Right? So her nickname became
Uh-huh.
Unfortunate. So, so they used to go, so everybody in the house used to call her Unfor. So Unfor, but
Oh,
Unfor, you
for
didn't do this thing. And they used to call her Unfor. Unfor cannot walk 2, 3 steps. She must throw something. Unfor must hit her head. She was, and that character came from someone who used to live with my mom, right? My mom had
Oh.
this had this girl who she was like sending to school and who used to live with her. That little girl, I'm telling you that if she moves from one room to the other, she'll break a plate. Something. And I'm like, surely there's, you know. So when we're creating characters, I said, hey, it would be so cool to have a character like this, you know. So that's how Onfor came to be. And I loved, everybody loved Onfor. Unfortunate. I said my name is not Onfor, my name is Sa'a Fortunate. But no, she was not. So I loved that character very, very much.
If you had to call, what would you call? What would unfortunate be in Hausa? Because I'm assuming "sa" is a Hausa word, right? So would it be Basa'a?
Sa'a is Hausa.
Like, so would it be Basa'a?
Hmm.
Badasa'a or something?
Sa'a, but that's like there is no,
Uh,
there's no luck, or there's no fortune. But the word itself, that's so interesting that
uh,
I don't know, because I know some interesting, like I know what renovation is in Hausa.
please tell me.
Wow.
Please tell me. Tell me,
And
please.
then
Please tell us.
and I
Tell
know
us, please.
renovation,
Tell us.
Kwaskorima.
Yes, please. Koskorima.
Kwaskorima. Yes.
Kwaskorima. I see. Kwaskorima. I see.
Kwaskorima, that
I
is
see.
renovation. And then the other word I really love is like a shed made out of zinc,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
rumfankara.
That's rich, though. That's actually
Rufankara.
rich.
So, rumfankara, yes. So
Rufankara.
it's really interesting that I know these words and I don't know what the opposite of sa'a will be. That would be like somebody who is unlucky.
Right.
I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know one of my favorite Hausa words?
Well,
Tarkache. Tarkache.
tarkache.
Tarkache. I
That's
just
like
love the way
rubbish.
it plays. Nairobi. Tarkache.
Eh,
But the word sounds better than the meaning. Like
yes,
tarkache.
tarkache.
Like,
So
like a
in my
tarkache. Like,
family,
all your nonsense. Yeah.
all your tarkache, yes. So in
All
my
your
family,
tarkache.
like my mom
Mhm.
used to like my mom used to keep like a lot of things. If it's something from like 10 years ago or like 20 years ago,
Uh,
my mom will still have it. You know, so I don't know who Baba Ladan was, but we used to say but tarkache gidan Baba Ladan. And I cannot tell
so
you
Baba
who
Lada's
Baba
house.
Ladan. Tarkace of Baba Ladan's house. So Tarkace gidan Baba Ladan. So when we enter and see and just see rubbish, we just say, hey, Tarkace gidan Baba Ladan. Oh
Interesting.
my
Yeah, I
God.
mean,
Like,
the Yoruba equivalent of tarkache. You know the
No,
Yoruba
please tell me.
equivalent of that word, panty.
Ah, I'm
Panty.
really?
getting you. I'm
Panty.
getting you.
Oh, my mother would say jagwajantis. Oh, your jagwajantis.
Eh,
Recycling bin is the 2025 version. Got
eh.
it.
So,
Got it.
apart from Sa'a, what would you say was your like the whether it was a TV show or a play that you wrote that you're most happy of? I know, look, I know they're all your children and you're
Mhm.
proud of all of them, but what is the one that you're most proud of and why?
So I wrote this. I don't know that it's the one I'm most proud of, but I really love it. It's close to my heart. I wrote this movie called Once Upon a Life, and I'm in love with alternate reality. Like any movie that has alternate reality, anything, I'm watching it. Like I love it. So I wanted to write something in that line, like alternate reality. So I wrote the story about this girl who was like a no nonsense lawyer, in Abuja and did something. She was working on a land case and now was like almost like stepping on toes, not stepping on, but like not being fair, I would say, to the people who owned the land. And the land had like history, like history of people who died protecting it, like they were slain, like protecting their land. So she was one day when she left court, this old man was like telling her about the land and what she was doing, why she was doing what she was doing. She was like, "Oh, get my people," that kind of thing, to talk to my people. And then she, where how did that happen? But she shall woke up and she was living in another life. She was in Lagos. She was married, pregnant. No idea how she how she got to that life, and all of that. So now navigating um that new life and figuring out why she's there, what she's supposed to do, what's her purpose. I really loved that story. Um because it was different and it was sort of like I would not say coming of age, but coming to self, like finding of self of the character. and we were very intentional when we were filming that story. So we every character had a color code. So she wore green. That character wore different shades of green, until the very last scene where she wore pink. And there was a character who wore blue, a character who wore red, a character who wore, so they were all like different characters. They were all wearing shades of different colors just to kind of signify who they were on their journey, and stuff like that. Yeah, so I really liked that story and enjoyed making that film. But I would say I'm really loving the process of making this musical that I'm working
Hmm.
on now, and that's Queen Idia the musical. And that is because this is so interesting that the mask is very popular, but the story is not. Like the story is so silent. This like we don't. In fact, when and that came to me the way inspiration came as well, because I just woke up one day and I just heard Queen Idia, and I'm like, Queen Idia, that is so interesting because I was working on another thing. It wasn't Queen Idia I was working on, and when that came to me, I was like, okay, that is interesting actually. But what is the story? Like, who is she? Like, what's her story? And then I started to research and started to read, and oh my gosh. Like, I was like, such a story exists, and we're all sitting like, how? How is this possible? It's just like that story is complete. You know how it's like it's a complete story, it's complete, it has everything, it's a magic, it's so beautiful. So I'm enjoying the process of making it, of creating it, of sitting with collaborators, to write, to perform, to like I'm just enjoying this process so much. And I think it shows because the the two times we've performed it, we've had very beautiful responses. In fact, the first time we performed it, we had a standing ovation in the middle of the show, and I was like, we have not
Wow.
finished now. You guys should you just say chill first. We are coming. We are not done. But it was so intense that, yeah, so we had to pause and wait for them to finish clapping, before we
Wow.
continued. So that was like really amazing. And then we had the second sharing in Peterborough at the Key Theatre, and Abby was there for that one. If Abby was there with like, were you there
No, I didn't come to
for
the
that
festival.
one?
No.
Yep.
No.
Yes. So like, sure, we were like 8 members of your family. Also, who she came with that day,
She told me about
and
it. Yeah, work. I couldn't make
yes,
it.
yeah. So we had that as well, and that was also, we had a rousing, like a standing ovation. We had feedback. In fact, we had a descendant of Queen Idia in the audience, and he was,
Oh.
yeah, and he was blown away. And he said, "Oh my God, that I was so blown away that because it's not really the play that you're seeing. We're sharing music, we're sharing songs and poetry
Hmm.
from the musical. So we're not really acting or anything. It's like a concert. So, and we're reading, we have our script, our music stands in front of us, our microphones and our scripts. So he was like, and when we came on with script, he was like, what are these people trying to do with script? I don't know. He said, but I was blown away. So I feel like we've created something really amazing, something really magical. And when Bez saw it, because um Bez like knew of the process and knew like when I write something small, I'll send to him, and all of that. But he had not, for most of the songs that we performed, he had not heard them, So he had tears, and he said he had tears in his eyes, and he kept on going on and on
Amazing.
and on about it. His wife called me later that night. Please, what did you people do today? Because Bez has not stopped talking since he got home. So I'm like, oh my God. And he said, there's nobody who will see that thing that will not love it. So coming from, and he's not saying it because he's my brother, so coming from people like that, Abby was blown away. A friend of mine, Tosino Tudeko, who is a playwright, who writes music from scratch. And she said, Lydia, you have really something really amazing here. So when you get feedback from people like that, you know that perhaps you do have something really amazing.
You're outstanding
I'm
Perhaps.
and
enjoying,
talented.
huh?
I said you're
I said
outstanding and
perhaps.
talented.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
See,
I didn't know
when I
much
said
about
Lydia
the
is talented, when I said
yeah.
Lydia is talented, there was no lying, Abby.
No lie, oh, no lie. Oh. Me,
No
I
lies.
didn't know much about
No lies
Queen.
told.
I didn't know much about Queen Idia, but that's the image on the Festac
First
77
stack.
map, isn't it? Ah,
Yes.
iconic.
That's our first stack. Do you know that image is in your passport? If you
Yes.
have a
Yeah.
Nigerian passport, it's in it.
It's there. Yes.
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 It's in every Nigerian's passport. So every Nigerian is roaming around with that image, not knowing what that story is.
What it's
It
about.
is.
And this dates back to the
Yes.
15th century, isn't it?
Yes, is it yeah, from in 16th century.
16th century. Okay. Got it.
Yes, 16th century.
Okay.
Yeah, and she was the first queen mother of the Benin Kingdom, because prior to her, when your son is crowned, you die.
Hmm.
So all other queen mothers were killed as soon as their sons were crowned king. So she was the first one who lived and became the first queen mother of Benin Kingdom.
Brilliant.
And the first, yes, and the first woman in Benin Kingdom who went to war, because she went to war her son, for her son to be king. Her son was the third son, so he had no business being king, but he ended up being crowned as king because she fought for him. It's a very magical story.
Well, we can't wait to see it all. We can't. Yeah.
You know, Lydia, tell us about how you got into this story, the Queen Lydia story. Tell us how you
Hmm.
arrived at the story. Like, tell us about the process. You might as well just because I heard you talk about this for the first time on Clubhouse, and do you
Yeah.
remember that's the basis for you being here.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I heard Lydia talk about Madam Idia, and I was so moved by Lydia's account of how she arrived at the story and the creative process that I was
Mhm.
like, look, she has to come and join us on Two Grown Men and come and talk about it. So Lydia, tell us about this story. Tell us how you came about it, everything about it, please.
Yeah. So
We're all
when I started doing the research into the story, like it's a really big story, very big, and um we had to sort of like, okay, what story are we telling, in this big story? Which story are we going to latch on to and tell, from the beginning to the end? And so we followed, like when I'm writing, I follow the hero's journey, to create the character or to tell the story of the character. And you find that, oh, every good story, has like that structure. Like what does the hero, what does she do, what does he do, how do they go, what are their conflicts, what are the things standing in their way, how do they overcome it, stuff like that. So in the
Protagonist.
process of,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. So in the process of doing that, it helped me narrow the story down and say, okay, this won't make it into the script this time, this won't make it this time, this will, so it helped me narrow it down. And then I got in touch with my collaborators. So my collaborators is very interesting. I have known them like since Tarua in, all of them are like Tarua people, like Tarua performers, and they performed in Tarua and um from Nigeria, many years. So we've known each other for many years. And we're all now living here in the UK. So I now have had a conversation with them, like, I want to tell the story, what do you guys think? And what is so interesting about it is you don't know the capacity that people have, including yourself. So like Undukwe, for example, who is like Undukwe is the person behind on the screen at the back with the hair on that photo behind you. Yes. Olawunmi, yes. So yes, that's Undukwe. So Undukwe, because the Queen Idia, when I wanted to write it, I didn't know how I was going to tell the story, but I knew that I didn't want it to be normal, right? So another inspiration, another idea came to write it, to tell the story using spoken word and music. So I'm like, hey God, like how will it work? Spoken word and music. I don't know how that will work when like it's not dialogue, like people talking, it's like people speaking in poetry. And the first thing that came to me is Nigerians, we speak in poetry anyways. Like we're not normal when we're talking, like they'll say, oh, wisdom is chasing you. The wisdom has been chasing you since morning, stuff like that. Like like we're very poetic in the way that we speak. So that's how I knew first it would not be very difficult. Secondly, I got inspiration from Hamilton. I don't know if you've watched Hamilton, the stage production. And Hamilton was told using rap, like hip hop rap and music. So I was like, okay, if rap worked, surely we can try poetry and see how that would work. So we started to write. So Undukwe and Donna came on as poets because they're prolific, they're fantastic poets and spoken word performers. So they came on as. But Undukwe has written one of my favorite songs in that musical, and all of us were like, when did you start writing music, Undukwe? Like seriously, like what's happening here? And it was just so interesting. Like when you listen to the music and when you watch it, you think that it was written by one person because of how connected and how it's just so beautiful, like the work, the body of work. And you think that one person did, but it was like 4 different people who were probably not in the same room when they were writing, but it just aligns well, So yeah, that's how we got here. I can't hear. Allow me, you're muted though.
Olawunmi, you're mute.
I said, I said, what's your favorite thing about Queen Idia? Like, I'm loving every time you tell the story. This is like the second time I'm hearing the story, right? And you find new layers every time. So I'm not tired of hearing it. So, what's your favorite thing about Queen Idia, the musical? Your version of Queen Idia?
What's my favorite thing about the musical? I don't know. That everything is just so lovely. The poetry is oh my gosh. And then the music, like everything is just so beautiful. Like the combination of poetry and music is so, I don't know what would be my favorite thing. Like everything is just it's just great. Her story, I think the most intriguing part of the most intriguing story inside the story for me was how Idia was magical. Like she had magical powers, and that was because she was prepared for the kingdom. Because when the king laid his eyes on her, she had no choice but to marry him. So she had to be prepared for the queendom, and so she was kind of soaked in magic, and that's where she got those 2 scars that you see on her forehead. And in the process of like that made her magical, so one of the most fascinating things about that story is Queen Olawunmi, who was the senior wife in the palace before the king married Idia. She held that woman's pregnancy for 4 years. Queen Olawunmi was pregnant for 4 years.
So I heard. Wahala.
It never ceases to fascinate me whenever she held that woman's pregnancy for 4 years. Olawunmi was pregnant for 4 years.
4.
4 that you know. Yes, 4 years. And it's documented in history. It's not something I made up. It's documented. It's in history. Yes. So she was pregnant and she gave birth. She gave birth to the giant. You know, the when you go to Benin City, there's a statue of
Mm-hmm.
a giant who holds a palm frond in his
Mm-hmm.
hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's who she gave
Mm-hmm.
birth to, Aranra. Yes. So he was like the giant of he was the giant of Edo. So that statue
Hmm.
is of that 4 year pregnancy. Yeah.
Wow. Woo.
Yeah.
Well, the guy spent 4 years in vitro, right? So
Surely. Surely. Surely.
That's
So
another way to
Adonna
look at
wrote
it.
the poem. So there's a poem where yeah. And there's a poem where both queens and they're pregnant at the same time, right? So it's like who is going to give birth first? Because whoever gives birth first, that's the heir to the throne, right? So there's a scene where both queens are singing to their sons, like their pregnant bellies, and prophesying into their lives. So Donna wrote that poem, and there's a line in it that says, "If they have held, if oh gosh, if they have held the
we've lost Lydia.
gosh,
Lydia,
okay,
what happened
there's
to your
you guys
sound?
were buffering for a while."
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Okay,
yeah. So there's
go
a
ahead. We can hear you now. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So there's a okay. So she said if they have something a 48-month pregnancy, I will bear them a 48-month-old newborn.
Wow, wow. Hence the giant.
Hence,
Hence the giant.
hence, hence, you
Hence
know.
the giant.
So yeah. So yeah. We have some like really, really weird, like we have something really magical in that work.
I want to go out and see it now. Where is it? Where is it showing? Where is it showing?
Um so no, so we're still in development.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in R&D now in the research and development phase. So we've tested with two audiences, Cambridge and Peterborough. So we're doing the London sharing on the 17th of July in London in the Actors Church in Covent Garden. Yeah, so that's where we will be on that day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I at this point I would
Fantastic.
like to be in that. I would like to be in that audience. I would love to be in
Yeah.
that audience.
Yeah. I'm actually really looking forward to the London sharing because yeah, I'm interested to see how it'll go. So in
So
Peterborough,
for,
there's sorry.
no, so I was no. Go ahead. I'll ask my question after you finish. You were saying
Okay,
something
so
about
in
people.
Peterborough, yes, there's the CEO of the theater. He saw it and he said to me, I'm an old white boy and I got it." And that's me.
Hmm.
That was really good to hear because it means that no matter who you are, you will get it, right? Like you will get the story because we didn't try to make it not Nigerian, or we didn't try to let's dilute it so that people understand. We didn't try to do that. We just wrote, So when we spoke pidgin, we spoke pidgin. When we spoke Benin, we spoke Benin. When we spoke English, we spoke English. We didn't try, oh no, let's not, because people may not understand. We didn't do that. So it felt really good to hear that it's a work that can cross over to
Hmm.
any audience, I would say. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mm.
I'm going to redact this for a few minutes. You
Mm.
work primarily in the creative space, pretty much.
Mm. Yeah.
Have you? So you basically live your passions. You make your passion is your job, basically.
Yep.
How fortunate. Have you
See, this
ever had like a conventional job, like a regular 9 to 5 job?
for one day, yes.
Hmm.
For one day,
One
I
day,
announced my
literally
parents
one
in
day.
court. I went to court, announced my parents. May it please this honorable court.
I
And
know,
I was done. And then I
Lydia. I also
hung
know
my wig
somebody
and gown.
who became a lawyer and said, "Daddy and mommy, this is what you wanted. I'm not a lawyer. I'm going to now go and chase my passions." And they were like, they thought
Yes.
that child was joking, and the child wasn't joking. 20 years later, that person hasn't looked back. JB's law
No.
you wanted. Collect the law.
And now here we are.
So I
You know
can
what?
relate with what you're saying.
You have one up on me. I'm a lawyer. I spent 12 years studying law. I have never gone to court. I wore my wig and
Wow.
gown one time
Wow.
once.
For call
It
to
was for
bar.
call to bar. It was call to bar. After that, after that, never. My wig and gown go to court regularly.
Hmm.
One of my brothers is a lawyer. He wears my wig and gown to court regularly. And I've been a lawyer for 22 or 23 years now.
Hmm.
Never once. So you have at least you went to court and said,
I
"May
went
it
to
please
court
this
once.
honorable court,
May it please this
I am
honorable
Lydia
court.
Idakula. I represent the plaintiff or the defendant.
Yep.
I'm here to take a date for adjournment."
And that was it. And I never went back. But I've always been this person. I don't know how to lie. I don't know how to lie. I don't know how to live a lie. I don't know how to lie to myself. Right? I can lie to somebody, or I might be able to lie to you, but you see, to myself, I cannot lie to myself. And I've always lived an authentic life. So even like down to makeup, like I hardly wear makeup mostly because I don't really like it, but I also feel like it makes me look different. So I feel like I'm deceiving people. So
Mm.
like, please, I don't want to deceive you. Just see me how I am, you know. But I've always had this, I don't know, it's almost like it's either I'm like this or I die, because there's no middle ground. There's no, oh, I could be, or I could. So when you see me, what you see is what you get, right? The me that you meet, that's my true to my core. A friend of mine has described me as, she said, you are as real as a thumbprint.
Mm.
That's what she said. Like, you are as authentic as a thumbprint. Like, there's no. So I can't live a life that I'm unhappy with,
Mm.
or a life that is not like fulfilling my truest desire. I can't do it. So when I'm asked, if you were not a producer, what would you be? My answer is always, if I was not a producer, I'll be a producer, because I don't know what
Mm.
else. If I was not a creative person, I would be a creative person, because I don't know what other life that I could live. That's why I don't have choice, is what I'm telling you. In
This is
my
the air
own.
that you breathe.
It looks as
This
if
is
Yep.
the
the air that you.
production chose you, so you are that vessel, and
Exactly.
run
Exactly.
with it. It's a great
Exactly.
place to be. Great place to be.
You
How
know,
Exactly.
can our followers follow you for updates? For just apart from Covent Garden, maybe as things are unfolding. You say you're in the R&D
Yeah.
section, but when things have become more firm, maybe your
Yeah.
social media handles. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
put it
I'm Lydia
on
Idakula
screen so
everywhere. So
people
I'm
can
Lydia.
follow you.
Yes, I'm Lydia Idakula on Twitter. I'm Lydia Idakula on Facebook. Wait, on Twitter?
Okay.
No. On Instagram, I'm Lydia Idakula. On Facebook, I'm Lydia Idakula. And then there's also Queen Idia the musical on Instagram and on Facebook. I think on TikTok as well. And Idia the musical on X, Twitter.
On X.
Yeah. Yeah. So Queen Idia the musical, and then Lydia Idakula. You
Yes,
find me.
please follow Lydia Idakula. Please also follow Queen Idia the musical on X, on Instagram, on all her social media handles. Thank you.
that Lydia, I'm still very, very blown away by like this story and how you are telling it.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what is for you something remarkable that's happened to you in the course of this journey that continues to, sometimes you find yourself in a space. You're doing a job, money's not coming, progress is not coming, but something happens to you that lets you know I am on the right path. Or I know you've said if you were not producing, you'd be producing. If you're not creative, but is that one particular thing, whether when you were starting out or in the course of your journey, that just made you think, you know what, this is my place, and I wouldn't change this place for the world? Is there anything that reaffirms your choice?
Indeed, there is. So, so when I was working on Tara Festival, I think it was the very first one, very first Tara Festival that I was working on. I did it on a zero budget. So I had no money anywhere to do that festival. I didn't have sponsors. I didn't have anything. And it was just so, and because it was the first one, people didn't know me. It was just like, who is this one? Where is she coming from to come and look for money? And I remember my colleague who I was working with, who worked with me at the time, blessing B Azubike, she said to me, Lee, did God send you? If God sent you, I will follow you anywhere to the end of the earth. But did you hear very clearly from God that we should do this festival? Because the way it's looking, it's not looking like like you heard well. And I said, of course I did. Like, me, I don't do things that they didn't send me to do, you know. So we were sitting. So there's this lady in Lagos who ran the Society for Performing Arts in Nigeria, and I was trying to reach her, and I asked people for her number, and they kept on saying, "Oh, she's not somebody who and likes them. She doesn't like people giving out her number. Let me ask her," and they would never come back to me, So I was trying to reach her, and I couldn't reach her, and I couldn't nobody would give me her number. And so after that conversation with B, we were just sitting down at home. I remember in my living room on the floor, on the carpet, we're sitting down, and then my phone rings, and I answered, hello. I said, hi, is this Lydia? Are these the people who are doing Tara Festival? I said, yes, this is she. My name is Lydia. And then she said, okay, my name is Sarah Bulus. And that's this person who I've been trying to reach. And I was like, okay, okay, lovely to make your acquaintance. And she said, yes. Can you come to my house tomorrow? And I said, yeah, why not? I can. And she said, okay. So she sent she sent me her address, everything, and we fixed the time. And I said, okay, we'll go. So I went to her house the following day, and she wasn't home. So, but we sat. She had left instructions, so we sat down and we're waiting for her to come in. And when she comes in, are you Lydia? I said yes. Do you know the first thing she said to me? I want you to know that you are blessed and highly favored. So I was like, she said, God took sleep away from me until I called you.
Jeez.
So she felt unsettled.
Call these people.
She felt
Yes.
unsettled.
So yes, until she called. She said, God took sleep away from me until I called you. So I just started crying because it was like, there's just things that happen, small things, big things, huge things that happen along the way that just reaffirms that this is the path you're supposed to be on. Like, this is your path. This is not, like, I'm so sure that this was what I was born to be, born to do in this life. I'm so sure of it. Like, it's not even a doubt that, oh, am I in the right? Is this my purpose? Is this my plan? I know that this is what it is. And it has been reaffirmed over and over and over and over. I have stories for days. I have stories of when I heard a voice in the room, like me and nobody, but there was a voice in the room and we're having it. Like, I have stories, so I'm not even in doubt. So I know that as long as I'm on this path, my call is to cause shifts and cause change, positive shifts, change, affect human beings positively through the arts, cause change through the arts. That's what I'm called to do in this life, and I would not have it any other way, because this is, I feel fortunate, and like I feel I don't take it for granted. I feel like this is a huge responsibility, because the arts will do things that the pulpit cannot do. There's a way that it shifts mindsets and shifts mentalities and just causes change in a way that nothing else can do. So I feel very privileged and very, blessed to be in the arts, and that for this to be my calling, for this to be my life, really.
Well done, Lydia. I particularly have a deep respect for writers. Um, Irrespective of your religious inclinations, the Bible and the Quran are still here in 2025. They are still here. Printing them,
Mm,
people are still going to church, people are still going to the mosque. But more importantly, even going back to about a few hundred years ago, William Shakespeare's books are still textbook material in schools around the world. That's a
yep.
writer who was singing, who was art is similar as well with the great. So there's just something about creatives that,
Yeah.
especially writing, because you've written a play, you've directed a play, you've produced a play. That is gold. It will always be
Yeah.
here. It will always
Yeah.
be regurgitated from generation to generation, and you're able to speak life into something, and that thing breathes. And the funny thing is, the question I have next is, do you find that you've done a play, or you've done a production, or you've done a movie, and you've gotten six different reactions from the same thing, and you're like, okay, I didn't even look at it from that perspective. Like,
Yes.
you know how you go to an art gallery where someone's saying, this is what I see in the painting, like, no, I don't see that. So I see somebody sad. They're like, that person is the happiest person in that painting. So how
Yeah.
people are seeing, having different perspectives of the same thing. Have you seen that in your work, where you hear different, or do you see more of a linear approach to people having the same kind of like feedback to your work?
No, it's not linear actually. Like, it's because human beings are different, and they see things through the prism of their own experiences and their own eyes, I would say, and their own emotions and things that so it's always different. And I think the thing that fascinates me the most when people are talking about work that I do is when I hear a perspective that even I didn't think about. And the truth is, like, when you're writing, you break it down in such a way that there's almost nothing that you don't think about when you're writing. Because it's as clinical as having a table, like a table on the board, and you're writing the characters and filling in the characters, their characteristics, what they do, what they like, what they don't like, their opportunities. Like, we SWOT our characters. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are their opportunities? What are their threats? Who is a threat to this character? Who is this? So you know everything about your character, and you know your story intimately, so that when somebody comes and says to you, oh, this person, if this person had done this person would have, or if this thing had happened, this thing would have happened, or this thing happened because this person was, it blows my mind, because it's almost like they've taken ownership of something, that was once mine, and they've cared so deeply for it, that they've had their own opinions that are very different from. So it's always fascinating to hear. Oh, those conversations are always interesting to have. When I'm watching movies, there was a time I was watching, I have a friend who I watch movies with. Her name is Omoye. And when we're watching stuff together, like, sometimes we pause. Like, I remember we're watching Yellowstone, we will pause and argue it out. This man is a selfish person. No, it's his son that is, the son is useless. No, the man is up. Like, we will argue out the scene and the characters before we say, oh yeah, continue. And then we now unpause, and continue watching. So when that happens with your work, it means that you've created something so dynamic, that people see it in, yes, from different perspectives, and people will have like it's a point of conversation. That's it's always amazing to see, always fantastic.
Thank you. So one more from me. So you mentioned singing earlier, so we're not going to let you go without talking about singing. You've talked about the production a lot. So
Yeah.
my question about your singing is, which gives you more joy as a passion? Is it the singing part? Is it the writing part? Is it the production part? I'm leaning towards the production, but I want the thespian to speak in her own words.
I I actually do. I can't. I honestly cannot answer this question, because it's like saying which of your siblings is your favorite. You know, they're very
Hmm.
different.
Mm,
They're
Dumb
very
question.
different. Different personalities and different ways of expression. I love music. Like, I listen to music obsessively. Like I can listen to a song on repeat for 3 days straight. Like the same song on repeat. I can listen to it three. So like music for me, my family, very musical family. My father used to play the guitar. My mother and my father had a mixtape. My mother was in a girl band. So I come from like a very music. So music is we don't play with music in my house. So everybody, including my daughter now who is 16, like she has her own ways of listening to music. So in music and singing, I cannot say that. I can't really relegate it to any. I'm producing. I honestly cannot answer that question. I love them all equally. That's what my mom used to say
You love all
when
your
we tell her
babies.
when
Yeah.
we tell her
Why
that
should
my
why
sister
should
is
you
her favorite
choose?
child.
Yeah, you love all your
I love
babies.
you
I
all
love that.
equally.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you,
Interesting.
Lydia.
Interesting. Do you actually act in your productions, or are you just behind the scenes? Do you act?
So I call myself a wakapas aficionado.
Uh-huh.
I do. I would do wakapas, but like an actual acting role, I will not do. But I will have you know that in secondary school, I won Best Actress when I was
Hmm.
playing. Yes, we did Brother Jero, Wole Soyinka's Brother Jero plays.
Oh,
Yes, and I
I
was the
love those
fish seller. Do you
movies.
remember
I
the
love
fish
those.
seller? The fish seller had like maybe 4 lines or 5 lines in the entire production, but I was best actress. Like those 4 lines,
Those four
I did.
lines.
You will never see another 4 lines. This good, So
You
yeah,
became
but
the fish seller for those 2 minutes or 2 seconds on stage. You were that
what?
person.
And I gave her a Hausa accent, and I just like no,
Hmm.
like yeah, no, that it was really really good. And yeah, so but no, but I would do like maybe a waka pass or something, just but I would not act. I would not take on any major
You
roles. No, it's too distracting.
you do a Stanley. You know how what is fascinating about movies based on Stanley's comics is, so you're looking for the Stanley cameo. You're looking like, when is he going to show up? And then boom, he's walking past, or he's one guy that they bump into on the road or something, and like, that's Stanley, and it's a blink and you miss it moment. You know,
Yes.
blink and it's gone. Was that Stanley? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was Stanley. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
interesting. Pretty interesting. This is a truly amazing conversation. If you if someone came to you and said, look, Lydia, I'm trying to discover my passions, or I have a passion for this, that, or the other, but I'm stuck in my 9 to 5, what would your advice to them be? What would you say
I
to someone?
honestly don't know what. I don't know that I'm in a place to advise anybody, because
Hmm.
um people's lives are different.
Hmm.
People need what they need at the time that they
Hmm.
need it, you know,
Hmm.
and like not everybody is brave enough, I would say, to just quit a job, a paying job, to go and become a struggling artist. or because when it comes to the creative, you kind of have to find your way, like, and it's not an easy road to follow. In the UK, like, since being in the UK, I've realized that it's a very, very different environment here, and you are more likely to succeed as a creative in the UK than in Nigeria, because the UK has structures, like has creative arts organizations, that you can actually work, and you're working like 5 days a week kind of job, like 9 to 5 kind of job in arts organizations. You don't really find that in Nigeria, you know. And in Nigeria, most times where if you're finding funding, is usually like a sponsorship. Here, arts is funded by the government, like heavily, heavily funded by the government. And almost like, if you look at most of the theatre productions, especially the subsidized theatre, a lot of them, you see the Arts Council logo on it, because they don't do it without Arts Council funding. So you always, they keep on applying until they get Arts Council funding, and then they do it. So almost every subsidized production in the UK, you find an Arts Council logo on it. That doesn't really happen in Nigeria. So it also depends on where you are at in life. So I'm not in the position to advise anybody, honestly, but I would encourage, and I would say, see what you can do on the side, and see, how you can, yes, and how you can ease into it slowly, by doing it on the side. I would say that, but other than that, honestly, I don't know.
So I mean, look. Let's say, for example, I'm a 9 to 5 guy. I'm a lawyer. I have a job, or I'm a banker. I'm a business analyst. I have a job, but I'd like to get into the arts, like you said, part time or on the side. How would I go about it? How would you advise me to go about it? How would I find a tribe of people like me that could help me find my voice? How would I do that?
It depends on where you are, and it depends on what the
Mm,
art is. There are different, like, when I moved to the UK, one of the first things that I did, was one of the first places that I joined was a Facebook group, on Facebook group that was a UK theatre producers, or UK producers, or something like that, on Facebook. And that was like one of the places where I made a lot of contacts, and I started talking to people who started signposting me to different places in the UK. So you have to find your way. You have to do a lot of research. You have to know what you need first, and then set about finding that thing that you need, or the people that you need. But you have to find them, and you have to, um like, organizations, there are groups. You will find a Facebook group for something. You will always find,
mm.
so it's up to you, I guess. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want to do it? And most times, one person can lead you to another person, will lead you to another person. It's networking. So, yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Two Grown Men. We have Lydia Idakula in the house, and she's been blowing our minds with her creative talent. If you have any questions for Lydia, if you'd like to be on the show, by all means, send us an email on twogrownmen@gmail.com. We're Two Grown Men on Twitter X. We're Two Grown Men on Instagram. And our amazing guest, Lydia, is Lydia Idakula on Facebook, Lydia Idakula on Instagram, Lydia Idakula on X. And of course, Yemi is a Niger Man's Perspective on YouTube. See, this conversation, I don't want it to end. I'd
Yeah.
like to just, it's like,
I
it's,
want to end here.
I don't want to hand here. Let me be my Yoruba self.
Yeah.
I
You
give my
can
head,
always
my
have
head
me
sharp up.
back.
Oh, that one is
Eh.
guaranteed now. That one is
That one is
guaranteed.
guaranteed. That was guaranteed. You're going to come back.
Like,
We will be honored to have you back.
in fact, when you do
Yeah.
closer to, I mean, we'd like to like have you come and talk to us about Queen Idia in more detail. And when you have subsequent productions, like
Mm.
we'd like to hear you come and talk to us about. So Yemi and I are both creatives at heart, and our podcast journey, this YouTube channel journey, is for both of us. I mean, Yemi and I were on Blogger like 20. Yemi, how long was it? Was it 20
Almost
years
30
ago?
years ago.
Something like that. Almost
Yeah.
30 years ago on Blogger. You know, we got featured on the BBC and all that. But then we got caught up in our 9-to-5s. And this podcast journey, particularly for Yemi and his own YouTube channel, A Niger Man's Perspective, it's been us finding our creative voices. So when we talk to someone like you who is living that truth, because what you're doing is living your truth, right? You're living your creative truth. You said bye-bye to the wig and gown. And when you talked about not being able to lie, I was like, is she throwing shade on the lawyers? Is she doing so? That's not nice. But you went and qualified it. And so, talk about how you're just being true to yourself. So I guess what I'm trying to say with my rambling is, for me, it's truly inspiration, truly amazing to sit with you. It's like when we started with LD and with Nee, people who are living their creative truth. Okay, I mean, LD is now doing his own thing in the real estate space. He's not a businessman, but just hearing you talk about that, there's something about it. You make me want to go out there and bring out my notebook and start writing again. You make me want to go out there and the things that I have, these things in the back of my mind that I've always said I will do at a later point in life, or I'll do this at some point when I get it. And you're making me feel like, Olawunmi, life is short and time is life is, maybe you should just. So I'm saying to someone who's watching this, if you feel touched by this, if you have a creative voice in you, don't suppress it, please. Like, don't write a poem, do something. When I first came back to Nigeria, when I first came back to Nigeria, I was hungry I like spoken word. I like the open mic nights and co. And I asked someone, I said, listen, where can I find this? And someone said, oh, you need to go to Bogobiri. There's Taru at Bogobiri. And so I went there on a Thursday. And I think maybe for like a year or a year and a half, I did not miss one Bogobiri. Like, it was just there. And I didn't realize at that time that it was a small world that I was going to end up meeting you. And for the last year, we've been doing the clubhouse thing, our space in club for a few years now.
Yeah,
it's been like
we have.
since lockdown, wasn't it? Since lockdown, right?
Yeah, I think since lockdown, but I started joining. I think it was after I got to the UK. That's about 3 years now, really.
3 years, yeah.
Since it's a small I've been
world,
here almost 4 years now. Yeah,
small world, really amazing. That your journey is inspiring, Lydia. It's truly inspiring for me, and you've pushed me tonight to go and look at my inner creative and look at myself and say, Olawunmi, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing? And I have like tons of passions, but that creative side of me, I'm looking at the man in the mirror and I say, Olawunmi, come on, you can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do this. Yemi, what are your thoughts?
It's been an amazing experience sharing the stage with you, and you telling us about your hobbies, which morphs into your creative life, and I know I have certainly benefited from it, and the viewers hopefully have as well. So please leave your comments down below. We would love to have you back on the show. It could be about Queen Idia or any other up and coming projects that you have, and it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was really, really fun talking with you guys. Yeah.
Do you have any final words for us? Anything you want to say to us before you go? Because
just
I don't understand. Just do it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
The keyword is Lydia says, just do it. What are you waiting for? Just do it. Thank you very much for watching us. Thank you very much, Lydia. Thank you very much for Mungode. Thank you very much. Mungode. Yeah.